Hey everyone, this is Josh with firefightermedic.com and a blog entry regarding background checks. This is without a doubt, one of the most unknown and scariest parts of the hiring process, typically done towards the end of a hiring process, which means a candidate may be up to 2, 3, even 6 months into the hiring process after different kinds of examinations and interviews before they get here. So there's a lot on the line when you show up for a background investigation. What is entailed in a typical background investigation? Typically you're going to fill out an information packet. I know during my hiring process this packet was almost 30 pages long, and it was a personal interview meets a job application, in that I had to list everything that I'd done for work since I was 14 on, who I worked with, who I worked under, why I started, why I left, what my duties entailed, the schools I went to with transcripts, and any sports I played, the coaches I played under. They wanted personal references, at least. They wanted family members, immediate family. They also wanted 4 to 5 personal references that were not family that could vouch for my character. They wanted to know if I had any brushes with the law, and if so, what were those brushes for? Were they for misdemeanors, for felonies? Was I ever arrested? They wanted to know my drug and alcohol use. Had I ever drank before I was 21? Had I ever experimented with drugs? And if so, how much and when? Let's see. This was an extensive process, and it was conducted by a retired police detective within our city. Many agencies will use this. Either they'll use the law enforcement wing of that city government, or they will hire a outside agency to conduct the background investigation. A lot of factors go into this: money, time, personnel. So in your larger agencies that are a little bit more established, you can expect a very thorough investigation. Other end of the spectrum is a volunteer agency in a rural part of town. They may not have the personnel, the time, the money to conduct a thorough investigation. They may be like the station captain or lieutenant who is personally making phone calls to follow up on the things that you put on a resume. So understand that there's a wide number of variables involved with what kind of background investigation you'll undergo and how thorough it will be. With that in mind, there is one thing that I cannot stress enough to pass along to candidates so that they may have a successful background investigation, one in which they get a job offer. And that is, without a doubt, when asked a question, you tell the truth. There's a couple reasons for this. Number one is it's the right thing to do, and that should not need explanation. Number two is you never have to think about your story when you're asked multiple questions or at different times about a certain scenario or something that took place, if you always go back and tell the truth. I can always refer back and say, I went to San Diego State. I didn't lie about it. It's the truth. I don't think about it. I don't spend any effort. So the truth is always something you can go back and reference. And then number three, and perhaps most importantly, is if you lie and get caught, not only are you going to get bounced out of that background investigation, but that will follow you to another background investigation. The reason I say this is if you want to go get hired by another agency, they're going to ask if you've ever been in the hiring process for another agency before. Had you been in a background investigation? And if so, tell them the details of that. You'll have to let them know that you got bounced out for lying. And once they figure that out, that will follow you like a curse, okay? And it's even if you lie about the smallest thing. So it's not worth lying about something small and getting caught, because that will be the end of your career before it even gets started. This seems daunting, and many people write me with the idea that they're not sure where to draw the line. I understand that when candidates are given the advice of tell the truth, always, every time, without question, this will follow you if things go bad. Many people, in my experience, are good people that want to follow the letter of the law on this, and it's easy to see why. Some serious ramifications if you don't. However, please use common sense during your background interview, and don't open up a can of worms where you don't need to. It's a waste of time for the background investigator, and you're going to find that you'll make your own life more difficult if you do. The perfect scenario, or the example that I want to bring up here, is a simple question like, have you ever stolen anything? Okay? I know numerous people, close friends, that I've seen them field this question, and they say, well, I've never stolen anything, but one time I borrowed my buddy's surfboard, and he thought it was stolen, and he called the cops, and then, I was scared, so I held on to it for a little bit, and then I didn't know what to do, and he's a close friend of mine, and we're cool now, but I ended up giving the board back to him, and I was just borrowing it, but I would never actually steal, and they're blabbing on and on about something that's so innocent. They never really stole anything, but they look neurotic the way they're answering it. They're bringing up something that's really irrelevant. Like, when a background investigator asks you if you've ever stolen anything, it's, have you ever gone and robbed a place, and is it on record legally somewhere? I mean, use some common sense here. If you had a disagreement or a miscommunication with a friend over a borrowed surfboard, why bring that up? When you do, you show the background investigator that you don't have good common sense, and also you're opening up a can of worms, both with the level of information that you're providing, not important, and the way in which you answer the question. You look scared. You look like you have something to hide. So keep that in mind. Use some common sense when you answer these questions, because really you can dictate the tenor with which your background investigation will be conducted. Is it laid back? Is it relaxed? Is there nothing to hide? Are you open to questions? Or are you scared? Are you sweating? Are you nervous? Do you look as if you have something to hide? That's going to play a part in it. So, pretty long blog entry, but I do believe that it bears some conversation, and it's important to lay out the whole landscape in terms of what to expect, and then also, in my opinion, how you should be conducting yourself personally, professionally, and otherwise.